This is Vincent Price. I heard a story from a doctor friend of mine that was so incredible, I decided to ask him to tell it himself. Incidentally, he's a psychiatrist, and the story is about one of his young patients. Ordinarily, a doctor won't reveal case histories, but there's no one to be hurt by this story, and I am sure that he will tell it with discretion. As a matter of fact, I promised I wouldn't reveal his identity, so I've decided to call him Elihu Stone. If there aren't any Dr. Elihu Stones around, I assure you my choice of a name is purely coincidental. Anyway, he can tell the story better than I. Doctor?
Thank you. No, my name isn't Elihu Stone, but I am a psychiatrist, and this story did happen. I've written a paper on it that will be published next month. 2 years ago, I was a resident psychiatrist at the Angeles State Hospital. A young man was sent up to my office with what I thought were classic symptoms of chronic depression. For the sake of the story, let's call him Alvin Lorick.
I don't sleep at night. I'm tired all the time.
Mm-hmm. How long would you say you've been feeling this way?
About a year.
Is there any reason why you think you should be depressed?
Yeah.
Would you like to talk about it?
I can't.
I understand.
No, you don't understand.
Alvin, you were sent here because you need help. Right now, you may not be able to tell me what's troubling you, but maybe when we get to know each other better.
I want to tell you, but I can't. He'll hear us.
He? Who's he?
Have you got a pencil and paper?
I handed him a pencil piece of paper, and he began to write with his left hand. He'd hardly begun when his right hand pulled the pencil from the other and snapped it in half.
I told you, he won't let me, and he won't let me talk either.
Who is he, Alvin? Tell me.
I'm going to tell you. He can't stop me.
His right hand suddenly stiffened and became a claw that quickly clutched at his throat, while his left hand tried helplessly to remove it. Lying in front of me was a human being, very much in the act of trying to strangle himself with his own hand. What's more, he was doing a pretty good job of it. A patient who is serious about inflicting injury on himself wouldn't use his bare hands as an instrument of destruction. I decided not to interfere with his charade, since I doubted that he could injure himself seriously. I watched him as he lay writhing on the floor. Suddenly, he lay motionless. His hands fell limp beside his body, and his breathing almost stopped. Red marks appeared on either side of his neck, and his eyelids flickered lightly. Whether or not he was in a true state of unconsciousness, I couldn't immediately determine. I picked up the two halves of the pencil he'd broken the paper beside it. Before he had stopped himself, he'd written the letter I, and then K-I-L. The last letter trailed jaggedly off the end of the paper. I kill. Someone in that young man's body was trying to tell me something.
And that's only the beginning of our story.
Mutual Radio Theater, a new adventure in radio listening. 5 nights of exceptional entertainment every week, brought to you in Elliott Lewis's production of the Mutual Radio Theater. Our story, The Man Who Talked to Himself by Shepard Menken. Our stars, Lou Horn, Mary Jane Croft, and Mr. Menken as Cliff Sager.
A young man lies unconscious in front of Dr. Elihu Stone. By his own hand, with his own strength, a patient has attempted self-strangulation. Dr. Stone continues.
Well, that isn't what I thought at the time. Actually, I supposed that the man was putting on a show for my benefit. Either that was the case, or there were two distinct people living in this young man. Schizophrenia, a double personality. But that kind of theatrical performance isn't unusual with people who are deeply disturbed, and I didn't think that he could inflict too much damage on himself with his bare hands. At any rate, stories should begin at the beginning. Alvin Lorick came to me for therapy after that first traumatic incident, and of course, his problems began long before the day he kept his appointment in my office. By his own account, he was a quiet, gentle person who seemed to have a closer than usual relationship with his father.
Alvin, if we're going to fly those models, let's get out there before the day's over.
Okay, Dad. I'm getting the fuel.
And bring an extra plug. The plane won't fly if we can't fire up the motor.
Right. Oh, where's Mom?
She's still upstairs. You like eggplant?
I can take it or leave it.
That's what we're having for lunch. I made eggplant sandwiches.
Oh, yeah.
You'd be surprised how good they'll taste when you're hungry.
Eggplant sandwiches?
Well, it was the only thing left in the fridge from dinner last night. I didn't want to bother your mom with our lunch. Now, listen, let's get out of here, or the whole day will be gone.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's go.
Say goodbye to your mother.
Goodbye, Mom. We're leaving.
Bye. What time are you planning to be back?
Should be back about 4, Alice.
Bye. Nothing's going to slip around back there, is it?
No, I tied it down pretty good. Can't put a lead weight on a model airplane. Let's get moving.
I hope it's not windy out there today.
I'm not worried about wind. I just don't want anybody to be playing ball on the field.
Well, we can always go to the far end. We won't bother anybody out there.
Oh, hey, I forgot. Did you get new batteries for the remote control?
Oh, relax. I took care of everything.
I hope you're a better pilot today. Last time you nearly cracked us up in a tree.
I'll be better. I can't be stupid forever.
Well, it's tough. When the plane's coming right at you, all your control movements are in reverse.
I like it better when it's going away from you. Then I feel like I'm in the pilot seat. Dad? Are you all right?
I don't know, Alvin.
Well, pull the car over, quick. What's wrong, Dad?
Get me home, Alvin. Quick.
It was a surprise to everyone. Charles Lorick, Alvin's father, had suffered a heart attack. He had no previous symptoms of any coronary trouble, but according to Alvin, was the kind of person who didn't believe in going to doctors even for a periodic checkup. Alvin got his father home. They hadn't driven very far, and he called the paramedics, who made arrangements immediately to have him transferred to a hospital, from which he was discharged some 3 weeks later. It was a frightening experience, but at least now Charles Lorick knew about his problem and was determined to take care of himself.
Want another cup?
No, I don't know what's in this stuff, but it sure ain't coffee.
Well, if you don't like it, drink milk.
I would, except it has to be skim milk.
Just be thankful you're alive. Have you had enough?
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I've made a decision you folks might be interested in.
Oh, what's that?
I'm taking in a partner.
A partner? Does that mean you won't own the business anymore?
No, not exactly, Alvin. Cliff Seeger, an old competitor of mine, retired from the machine tool business about 3 years ago. Couldn't stand the boredom, and then he's been trying to get back in ever since. Of course, he got a pile of money for his old outfit, but they don't want him back in the organization now. So he's offered to buy into mine, and I think I'm going to take him in. Nobody knows machine tools like Cliff Seeger.
Well, what will that mean as far as what you take home every week?
You mean money? Well, I think it'll be better for all of us. I don't know what made Cliff think he could retire at his age anyway. He's just over 45. He's got a lot of energy and good ideas. He was a formidable competitor, but I think he'll make a great ally. As far as money's concerned, we'll be a lot better off. Just the interest on what he's paying to buy in ought to keep you in furs indefinitely.
Well, sounds like you should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah, it sure does, doesn't it? You know, maybe this is the best thing that could have happened to me. If I take care of myself, I could live another 100 years.
God forbid.
What's the matter? Do you have any objections to my living a long life?
No, it's just that you'll be spending a lot more time at home now.
Oh, gee, Dad, that'll be terrific.
It'll be fine, just as long as you keep out from underfoot. Between the two of you, it's all I can do to wipe up after you. Here, Alvin, help me take the dishes in the kitchen. We can't expect your father to be doing much around here anymore.
And so, little by little, Alvin painted a picture of his mother as a woman in her early 40s, probably attractive, and not overly given to showing affection to either him or his father. It was at the beginning of the 6th session together when Alvin suddenly seemed to fall into a state of deep catatonia. His body became rigid, his gaze fixed. I waited for a moment, and then he came alive as suddenly as he froze, and the story continued.
He wasn't supposed to be working this hard anymore. He was supposed to be having more free time.
Well, what do you want me to do about it? He's your father. You know more about what's going on with him than I do.
He likes flying model airplanes as much as I, and he hasn't found time to go out to the field in 3 weeks. He's busier now than before he got sick.
Well, he's putting a partnership together. Wants me to meet this Cliff Seeger, bringing him home tonight. What he thinks my opinion's worth, I don't know. Put on a clean shirt. We may not think much of Mr. Seeger, but there's no reason for him to think you come from a dirty family. Look presentable when you come back. Coming.
Hi, honey. This is Cliff Seeger.
Hello.
Come on in, Cliff. Make yourself to home. What can I get you?
Oh, a little bourbon and water be fine.
You got it.
Won't you sit down, Mr. Seeger?
My friends call me Cliff.
Cliff?
I think we'll be seeing quite a bit of each other.
Well, I hope so.
Charles didn't tell me he had a beautiful wife.
Oh, well, thank you. He didn't say much about you either.
Oh, he must have said something. I hope some of it was good.
He certainly didn't tell me you were a lady killer.
I don't know what to say.
Bought you a glass of wine, Alice, and your bourbon and water, Cliff. I'd like to make a toast to us, to all of us, for a long and prosperous...
Hi, Dad.
Oh, Alvin, just in time. Was just about to make a toast.
Oh, I'm sorry I interrupted that.
This is my son, Alvin, Cliff.
Hello, Alvin.
Hello.
You can take a sip from my glass, Alvin. Now, where was I? Oh, right. I propose a toast to a long and successful...
Dad! Catch him!
Oh, my God.
Dad! Dad!
Oh, wait a second, son. He's dead.
Get away from him! Just get away from him!
The death of someone close brings a response that's unlike any other. Aside from our own agony and longing, there's a tendency to remember the last days of the deceased and feel sorrow for his torment. But why do we pity the dear departed who feel no pain or anguish or deprivation? It's the living who are deprived and who often bear the guilt of not having done or said all the acts and phrases too late considered. Dr. Stone?
After the funeral, Alvin confined himself to his room and locked the door. What happened then seemed as natural to him as it was incredible to me. As the story continued on his 12th session of therapy, Alvin suddenly became two people, two separate sides of his own personality.
There's nothing you can do about it. He was my only friend. His business was his friend. You were part-time. I miss him. Sure you miss him. You'll get over it. No, I won't. Why don't you grow up? Leave me alone. You can't be left alone. You're just a kid. Oh, Dad! What am I going to do?
Alvin, are you all right?
I'm all right. Tell her to get lost. She doesn't care if Dad's dead.
Are you sure? Why did you lock the door?
I just want to be alone, that's all.
I do wish you'd unlock the door, dear.
Oh, please go away, Mother. I don't want to talk.
Will you unlock the door? Why don't you come in the living room? It's no good to be alone when you're feeling the way you do.
I don't want to be with anyone right now.
We all feel the same way you do, Alvin. Come on in the living room and be with the family.
How can you say you feel the way I do? You're a fine one to say that. Ever since I can remember, you wanted to be away from us. When was the last time we ever did anything together?
You have no right to talk to me that way, Alvin. Not now.
I don't want to talk to you anyway. Just go out and leave me alone.
You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt yourself in a way that you won't be able to fix.
I don't want to hear about it.
I'm trying to tell you I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you, your pain. I want to be closer to you.
You used to call me a chip off the old block. Is it that you don't feel that way anymore, Mother? Or maybe that the old block is dead and buried? The chip's become a splinter that sticks and hurts and wants getting rid of.
Oh, Alvin, now just stop doing this to yourself. Please try to understand, if not me, then yourself. There were so many little cuts and stings you've long since forgotten. You can't remember them, Alvin, because time's erased them. In time, the tears for this grief won't come as easily, and finally they won't come at all. You'll forget the bad things. Believe me, you'll forget.
I'll never forget. You better know that. I couldn't mean any more to you than he did, so don't give me any more of your sympathy. You go back in the living room and tell all my dear relatives that I died too, and that they can take back their cakes and fruit and well wishes and get the hell out of this house. I don't want their mourning, and I don't want their happy medicine. He was my father, and he was my friend, and I am not forgetting. Not ever.
The resolve to be unhappy isn't unusual. You've all heard the expression, he isn't happy unless he's miserable. Well, there are people like that. There are many reasons why these compulsions arise. In Alvin's case, it seemed his determination to prolong his own anxiety stemmed from resolve to get even in one way or another. He remained in his room for 3 days after the funeral, taking no food or drink, and refusing all solace.
How long are you going to stay in here? I don't know. You look like hell. Well, who cares? I do. If you're going to kill yourself, I wish you wouldn't take me with you. Not you care about anything. I care as much as you do, jerk. Just forget the whole thing, right? Be happy and drown your suffering in a glass of milk. Well, what do you think I ought to do? What do you mean, what do I think you ought to do? You're hungry enough, aren't you? Yeah? Yeah, nothing. You're starving to death. Now go wash your stupid face and go in and eat something. Well, she'll be watching me. Maybe there are other people in the living room. Big deal. What are you supposed to do, make a good impression? What do you care about what anybody thinks? Well, I don't, except it's embarrassing. Boy, you really are a jerk. They're the ones who ought to be embarrassed. They never came over when Dad was alive. Yeah, you're right, you know. Those people don't mean anything to me. I'm telling you. They just came over to see some misery. People eat that stuff up. If you're smart, you won't give them the satisfaction. Let them think you got over the whole thing. And if you're going to get even with someone, you don't show them you're weak. Yeah, you're right. Let's go.
Thank you for coming over, Mrs. Kenny. I wouldn't know what to do without people like you.
Oh, well, that's what neighbors are for, Alice. If you need anything, I'm only 2 houses down.
Thank you for the wine.
Well, I never like to come empty-handed.
You stupid old pig. Hey, not so loud. He doesn't have to know you're listening in the hallway.
I'm sure you'll be all right, Mrs. Kenny.
Well, you just tell him I asked about him, Alice. Oh, it's nice seeing you again, Mr. Seeger.
Nice seeing you too, Mrs. Kenny.
What's he doing here?
I'm glad you'll be looking after things. Alice is lucky to have you.
Well, thank you very much. We'll do our best.
What the hell does he mean by that? Where'd he come from?
Oh, I suppose she means well.
Irrepressible.
Well, she's big anyway.
Anyone else coming over?
Not that I know of.
Can I fix you a drink?
I'd like a little of Mrs. Kenny's wine.
What's he doing here?
Here we go.
She's right, you know.
Who? And about what?
Mrs. Kenny. I'm very lucky to have you.
Yeah. I'm glad to be here.
It's been wonderful. You're coming over like this?
I think I would have, no matter what happened.
Thank you, anyway.
What are you going to do about him?
Alvin, I don't know. I don't understand it. He's very much like Charles was. Only now...
What?
He frightens me.
Oh, bingo. I think you made an impression.
How do you mean he frightens you?
No, I don't know. I just get the feeling he holds me responsible for Charles' death.
Oh, that's ridiculous. It's a hard time for you both. But I'm sure that's all in your imagination.
I don't think so, Cliff. I'm very worried about him.
Cliff? Now it's Cliff. Oh, boy, ain't that cozy.
Well, don't worry about it. We'll work something out for the boy.
I just wish he'd come out of that room. It gives me the creeps.
I'm glad he's in there.
Oh, please don't, Cliff.
I can't help it. I wanted you the minute I saw you.
I'll kill him. Keep cool, man. Don't act like a damn kid.
I want you to, Cliff. But it's not right.
Of course it's right. If it's what we both want.
But I mean, Alvin's in the house. What if he came in here?
He's been in his room for 3 days. Why would he come out now?
I don't know. But why don't I go to his room and check?
I don't want you to leave me for a second.
I'll be right back, silly.
I'll kill him. I swear I'll kill him.
At one time or another, we've all made amateur attempts at psychoanalysis. We've heard ourselves tell people it's all in your mind, or you've got to get your head on straight, and probably the most popular, he's got an inferiority complex. But our ideas about people's mental states are guesses for the most part. They're based on personal experience, and few of us have any idea of what really makes people the way they are.
Excuse me, Dr. Stone again. That's not entirely correct either. If a person sheds tears, one doesn't have to be an analyst to know that he's either got something in his eye or he's unhappy. But if neither of the above is true, then the reason for the tears becomes a little more difficult to explain. I didn't need a medical degree to understand Alvin Lorrick's disturbance when he overheard Cliff Seeger, a virtual stranger, attempt to make love to his mother 3 days after his father died. He felt an instant surge of anger that gave way to brooding and an obsessive plotting to get even. How he was going to accomplish this wasn't clear to either of his personalities, especially when his concentration was interrupted.
What is it?
Alvin, we want to talk to you.
We?
Cliff and I.
Alvin, please open the door.
What do you want?
I want to be your friend.
Mr. Seeger said he hoped you could be friends.
Thanks. You mind if I sit on the bed? I suppose you know I'm taking over your father's business, Alvin. He and I signed papers before he...
Before he died, you can say it.
Before he passed away.
My father didn't pass away, Seeger. His heart stopped and he died.
Mr. Seeger is only trying to be kind, Alvin.
Oh, yeah? Well, if he wants to be kind, he knows what he can do.
Look, now, I don't want to fight with you, Alvin. I came in here to try to help. I understand why you resent me, and I don't think there's anything I can do to prevent that, but arguing over something that can't be changed isn't productive, and I don't enjoy wasting time.
All right, well, what do you want?
I want you to look at your situation logically and constructively. There are certain things that no one can do anything about, and you've got to accept the fact that your father's gone and that you're going to have to continue without him.
Oh, I'm going to go on without him, Mr. Seeger. I'm just trying to figure out how to do that.
Oh, I'm glad to hear you talk that way. People have to survive, Alvin. They can't constantly involve themselves with the past.
If your father saw how you were behaving this past week, he would have been very unhappy.
What do you know what would have made my father happy? How would you know anything about him?
I don't know why you're feeling so bitter about me. Is it my fault your father died?
No, but you're sure not crying a lot about it, is she, Mr. Seeger?
How your mother felt about your father is a very personal thing that even you can't know about, Alvin.
The hell I don't. She never kept the feelings to herself in her whole life. My father knew she didn't give a damn about him.
How would you know that? What do you know about your father and me?
I know what I know.
I think that when you're old, Alvin, you look back at this time with a lot more understanding than you have now.
I don't have to look back, Mr. Seeger. I can see everything very clearly right now.
All right, Alvin. I won't argue the point. The reason I wanted to talk to you was to see if you'd be interested in working at the plant. Now, maybe only on Saturdays right now, but when you get out of school, you might be thinking of a career in machine tools. Your father would have liked that.
Boy, you two are something, you know? What do you think I am, a moron? Now, where do you come off telling me what my father would have liked? You knew him even less than my mother, Seeger. And I've got nothing to say to either of you. But I'll tell you this. I know what's going on between the two of you, and that's something my father wouldn't like. Now, what do you think of that?
I think you got one hell of an imagination, kid.
Oh, is that so?
How dare you imply such a thing? Why are you doing this, Alvin?
Because I'm crazy. Everybody says so, right? I'll dare anything. Like right now, would you get out of my room because I got a lot of thinking to do? I know you'll both understand. It's the kind of thinking you'd like, Mr. Seeger, because it's going to be productive. And Mother, you should know that what I'm thinking is an idea that would make Daddy very happy. Not too bright. Not too bright. Oh, you're smart. You really are, you know. You always come in when it's all over. I keep hoping you'll be able to handle things. I can't help it. I get excited. Yeah, well, learn to control yourself. Anyone can take a look at you and read guilty all over your face. Okay, so I gotta learn to be calm. Well, you haven't got much time to do it. Will you get off my back? No, I won't. Because if you blow everything, I get my butt roasted. Oh, come on, give me a break. How do you like that, Seeger? He's going to give you a job in your own business. Well, it is yours. Dad would have wanted you to have it. I hate him. And your mother. How dare you imply she's fooling around with Cliffy, baby? I've got to get rid of them. What do you think they're talking about out there? I don't know. Why don't we get to where we can hear them? And try to control yourself. Now, quiet now. You're making more noise than I am.
I tell you, he knows something.
He's guessing, I tell you. How could he know anything? He hasn't been out of that room in 2 weeks.
I just feel it. He knows. Even if he has no proof, he knows. His father is in him. He just knows intuitively.
Oh, you're not being rational.
Whether I am or not isn't important. I don't think we ought to be seeing each other in this house.
All right. If it'll make you more comfortable, I won't come here for a while.
Just until... Shh. Alvin? Alvin, is that you?
Yes, it is, Mother.
How long have you been standing there in the hall?
Now, listen, Alvin, you don't have to come to any wrong conclusions. All right, so your mother and I have been seeing each other, but I promise you nothing serious is going on.
Alvin, Cliff is my friend. He's your friend, too. If you weren't so blind, you'd see that. He only wants to help us, and we need help. Stop looking at me that way. You're just like your father when you look at me that way. For heaven's sake, say something, Charles. Oh, my God.
Alice, stop it. Stop it this minute.
It's him, Cliff. It's Charles. That's not Alvin standing there.
Stop it, Alice. Of course it's Alvin.
Of course it is, Mommy. I just look like Daddy. Daddy's dead. I'm your little boy, Alvin.
Vincent Price again, and here's the fourth act of The Man Who Talked to Himself. A heaviness surrounds the Lorek house, a changing atmosphere documented by uncut grass and overgrowing shrubs. 2 weeks have passed since the Charles Lorek funeral, but his son, Alvin, will not be consoled.
This is Dr. Stone again. I think the death of his father and the knowledge of his mother's imminent infidelity literally shook the foundation of Alvin's mental stability. His only thoughts now were to find a way of revenge. His mother, Alice, feeling remorse and a genuine maternal attachment, continued trying to reason with him.
How long are you going to sit there like that, Alvin? Why can't you believe I want to help you? Do you realize you've been looking out that window for 2 days? What's going to become of you? Please speak to me. Oh, Lord, I know I haven't been much of a mother, but you never knew what I was going through. You don't have to look at me that way. What was I supposed to do living alone in the house with the two of you? Yes, living alone. What did you think I was doing all the time you and your father were in the garage building those damn model planes? And what do you think I was doing all those weekends while the two of you were on the ball field flying them? I never made friends easily, you know that. Not friends of my own. Your father and I knew people together, of course we did, but everyone thought we were such a nice couple. Well, they didn't know. No one knew. He smoked those cigars. When the business started going well, he started smoking cigars. You know what he said to me once? You weren't even born yet. You know what he said to me? Alice, he said, you know what cigars smell like? They smell like money. Well, the house smelled like cigars, and he smelled like cigars, and my bed smelled like When I asked him to stop, he said, Get used to it, honey. I don't tell you what dress to put on. And then there were his out-of-town conventions for 10 days at a time without so much as a phone call to find out how I was. Oh, thank heaven you're a man, Alvin. You'll never know what it means to have someone force his attentions on you. When you were born, he gave you everything he might have given me. I never knew the love and kindness you got from him. One night, he bent over to kiss you, and the ash from his cigar fell on your face. It was hardly a burn at all, because he brushed it off right away. But it was enough to make you cry. He never smoked after that. Threw out an entire box of hand-rolled Cuban cigars. Lord knows where he got them. But he paid enough for them. Just threw them out. Tossed them in the spinning garbage disposal one by one, with the water running as though he was performing a holy ritual against the spirit that injured his son. Oh, but he was cold with me, Alvin. I don't know why he hated me so, but after a time it didn't matter, because I grew to hate him too. I could never forget the loneliness and the stale stink of tobacco that saturated those first years. And then the countless nights. I cried long into the morning, wondering where I could run, hoping one of us would die and free the other. And it happened, Alvin. He died. I don't have to wish anymore. I'm free. And you can look at me with his eyes all you like, because I'm not sorry. And I'm not crying anymore. Now you keep away from me, Alvin. I'm not afraid of you. Don't you look at me that way. You're crazy, do you know that? Alvin, you stay away from me.
Okay. You know what you've got to do. So I do it. And then what? Seeger's got all the papers to the business. Well, that doesn't seem like much of a problem. Two can die as cheaply as one. Then it's all yours. But how do I do it? I don't want to get caught. We'll figure something out, Alvin. We won't get you into trouble. After all, if you get caught, so do I. I wouldn't like that at all. Well, you got to figure a way so I won't be near him when it happens. Naturally. In the car, they'd be together. Two birds with one stone, as far away as possible. But how can we be in control and not be there? Control, of course. Model airplane controls. Do it by radio control. Right. Oh, boy, you're not as dumb as you look. We can do it from the bedroom window and watch it all happen. Beautiful. But what can we use for an explosive? How about gasoline? No, not the tank, but how about one of those plastic bags that seal up like a zipper? That would work. We could put it under the front seat. How are we going to blow it up? The model airplane remote unit. If the rudder control broke the bag of gasoline, the elevator control could set off a photo flash bulb. Break the glass away from the bulb so the flash is out in the open, and... Right! Goodbye, Mother dear. Goodbye, Cliff, darling.
Alvin described the following night when Seeger came to take Alice to dinner. Alvin said he stood in the driveway hidden in the shrubbery. Seeger rang the doorbell.
Hello, you're early.
I know.
Come on in. I'll fix drinks before we go.
Alvin rushed from his hiding place into the street. He unscrewed the cover from the air valve of the left rear tire with a small instrument and removed it. The wheel slowly sank onto the flattened tire. Alvin ran to the back door of the house, climbed upstairs to his room, and he waited. Through his open window was a commanding view of the street below. Before long, he heard his mother's voice.
Goodbye, Alvin. We're leaving now. Don't forget to lock the front door.
I won't, Mother.
Night.
Night.
Through the curtain, he saw his mother and Seeger get into the car. Pulled forward 50 feet, and then stopped. Seeger got out, saw the flat tire, and backed the wobbling car to where it had been at the curb in front of the house.
That's crazy. Stupid thing was all right 5 minutes ago.
Oh, it doesn't matter, Cliff. Honestly, let's keep the dinner reservations. We'll take my car, and then when we get back, I'll call the club, and they'll have the tire fixed in no time.
Okay, but I don't feel very macho having to use your car.
Silly. You can drive if you like.
Beneath him, the garage door opened. Lorik's car backed down to the street. His heart pounding. Alvin said he held the model airplane transmitter in his hands. As the automobile approached the stop sign at the corner, Alvin slowly pressed the lever marked rudder forward. The car stopped, then started. With a decisive jerk, Alvin diverted the lever marked elevator and held it rigidly. Alvin said he heard a dull boom and saw a red glow in the sky.
Very good, Alvin. What do you think of that, Dad?
Who are you talking to, stupid? He can't hear you. He's dead.
But you never can tell. You might be able to hear.
You can believe that if you want to. Personally, I'm starving all of a sudden. You hungry?
Ooh, you know I am. Why don't we raid the fridge like we used to with Dad?
Alvin? That was a stupid thing you did, Alvin.
You shouldn't have done that, Alvin.
You're dead. You're both dead.
Not quite, Alvin.
You're burning out there on the street. Why are you doing this to me? Why aren't you out there? Why aren't you burning like you're supposed to be? Why aren't you burning?
The amazing fact in cases of double personality is that patients are actually able to see the results of what they've prepared without it ever happening.
Alice and I started for the restaurant only minutes after I arrived, and I thought it strange that one of my tires would go flat in that period of time. But we changed cars anyway. Just before I got into Alice's car, though, and purely by luck, I noticed a small silver wire, an antenna on the right rear fender.
I didn't know what it was.
So I took a closer look, and I found a tiny wire leading from it into the car and under the driver's seat.
He put one of his radio control machines and a bag of gasoline under the seat. He was going to burn us alive.
It's all right, Alice. He's in good hands now. Alvin's been sick for a long time, but he's going to be all right, isn't he, Doctor?
Well, I have to be honest with you, Mr. Seeger. I don't know.
When will I be able to see him?
I'm afraid that won't be possible for a long time. You see, he really believes he killed you. The shock of seeing you once again would only set us back.
The Mutual Radio Theater is brought to you 5 nights a week at this time. Tonight's original radio play, The Man Who Talked to Himself, was written by Shepard Menken and produced and directed by Elliott Lewis. Your host was Vincent Price. Our stars were Lou Horn, Mary Jane Croft, and Shepard Menken. Featured in the cast were Jack Crucian, Peggy Ray, and Barney Phillips. John Harlan speaking. The Elliott Lewis production of Mutual Radio Theater is a presentation of CBI.